As self-publishing authors, we are acting as our own publishers. That's the very definition of self-publishing. So wouldn't it be great if we could know what the big publishers are really doing so we can apply that to our own processes? Well, today we're joined by traditional publishing insider Alyssa Matesic for the secrets and inside tips that can help us out. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm MK Williams. I'm an author and independent publisher. I love sharing my insights about all things self-publishing with you. Before we get into the details about today's topic, don't forget to hit subscribe. That way you can be here every week as I put out new videos about self-publishing, making a career to being an author, and now being a mompreneur. I'm super excited to have our guest with us today. Welcome to the channel, Alyssa.
Thank you so much, MK, for having me. It's awesome to be here. For a little introduction, my name is Alyssa Matesic, and I am a developmental book editor and publishing consultant, and I also have my own YouTube channel under my name where I talk about the publishing industry, especially the traditional publishing side, as that is my professional background. I used to work at Penguin Random House and Macmillan, as well as a top literary agency. So I bring all of those insights to my channel and to my work with clients when we are strengthening their manuscripts. I'm really passionate about empowering authors, whatever their publishing path may be. So I'm really excited today to focus on different insights that traditional publishing can offer for self-publishing authors.
Agreed. I always want to see authors realize their dream for their book and advocate for them to get through the process as smoothly as possible. So if we're trying to match the traditional publishing process to our self-publishing process, can you tell us a little bit about exactly what happens in traditional publishing? So once a book is acquired by a publisher, what are the phases the book will go through in order to be published?
So I like to think about the acquisition of a book by a publishing house really as the beginning of the publishing journey. For authors, it might feel like the end of the journey because they've gone through so much to get that book deal, but really so much goes into the process from that point on. First, the manuscript is going to go through several rounds of developmental editing with the acquisitions editor. Now that is the editor who made the book deal with the literary agent and is going to be spearheading the entire project. So they will also typically serve as the primary developmental editor. So they will offer notes for revisions for big picture elements like pacing, plotting, character development, all of that stuff. And typically at least one round of developmental editing will happen. Sometimes multiple rounds. When I was working in the industry, there were plenty of times where authors needed more than just one round of developmental editing. That is totally normal. Really, the goal there is for both the author and the editor to feel really good that the manuscript is as strong as it can possibly be and the story is the best version of itself, because they want to make sure that they are publishing the best product they can. Once the editor and the author feel like the book is in a great place, it will go off to a copy editor. This might be someone in-house, or it might be a freelance copy editor in many cases. Regardless, it's going to be someone totally different from the developmental editor, and that is very important because you want the fresh set of eyes to catch any errors at that point. Then after copy editing, it will go to a different proofreader. So at a minimum, there's going to be 3 different editors having their eyes on the manuscript to make sure that it is as error-free as possible. In the meantime, while all of that is going on, the author is going to be consulting with their designated cover designer who's going to be creating the face of their book. And there's going to be an interior designer as well, designing the pages. In addition, there will be a marketing and publicity team planning for the launch as well. Once the book is all formatted and ready to go, the publisher will create what we call a galley copy or an advanced reader copy, which is basically a bound copy of the book with the pages all formatted. However, it is not perfectly bound with the cover and all of the fancy pages. It's basically just a more rudimentary version of the book, but it is sized, more book sized. And there will be another round of proofreading that goes through with that, so you can see how the actual typeset pages look and make sure that no errors happened when the manuscript went from manuscript form to the page form. And once that all looks good, it will be sent to the printer for publishing. Now, keep in mind that with traditional publishing, typically the book release will be a hardcover plus ebook, and then 1 year later, it will go through an adaptation for the paperback edition.
So editing, design, formatting, promotions, arcs, sounds familiar. And it sounds like a lot of editing. This is one of the things that many people self-report or say that is wrong with self-publishing, that we don't do enough editing. So how long does the editing process take, or how long should it take?
As you can tell from the process that I described earlier, the book is going to go through many rounds of editing before any reader sees it and before it's published. So once you score a book deal, you're still going to be working on your draft for, at a minimum, a few months, if not closer to a year. Sometimes it can be more than a year if the manuscript needs that much time. There is a myth in traditional publishing that publishers are really strict and really force their authors to adhere to specific deadlines. And while there are certainly deadlines in your contract, there will be a specific date by which the manuscript is intended to be accepted by the publisher, which means that it will have gone through all the developmental edits and you and your acquisitions editor will think that it is ready for the next phase and it's basically in its full form and is just ready for copy editing and proofreading. There is going to be a date set for that in the contract and a timeline set in the contract. However, what most authors don't know is that those dates often change because sometimes editing takes longer than is necessary. And your publisher really wants to support you if it does need more time. Because remember, they also want the strongest possible book to go out to market. So if you come back to them and you say, hey, these revisions are just taking longer than I expected, or I want to make this big change and my editor is on board with it, but it's gonna push the deadline, then usually those accommodations can be made, and I saw that happen frequently. Truly, your publishing team wants to empower you to create the best story and publish the best story possible. So I really encourage authors to let it take the time that it needs, of course, within reason.
That's great to hear that the team wants the best book possible. That makes sense. And self-publishers, we want that too. All right. I think we have a lot more in common than we do have different here. So who is on the team for each book? Editors, marketing, PR, and if we can't hire all those people, then maybe what skills should a self-publishing author look to learn or hire out for their books?
I've alluded to the different members of the publishing team as parts of my previous answers, but to summarize, an author's publishing team will include their acquisitions editor, who's really their main contact at the publishing house, as well as their literary agent, who is there alongside them throughout the entire process. There will be typically one marketing person, one publicity person, as well as a cover designer. Now, there are also other people involved that I mentioned. There's typically a formatting person that may or may not be the same person as the cover designer. There are other editors who are either in-house or freelance doing the copy editing and proofreading. There is a managing editor, production editors, as well as the higher level executives at the publishing house, including the editor-in-chief and editorial directors and publishers. So as you can see, it really does take a village. So when it comes to self-publishing, you can certainly make your own version of that team. I strongly recommend having at least 2 different editors, one for the developmental and structural side, and one for the more line level copy edit and proofreading side. But if you can have 3, that would be even better. It's a great idea to also consider hiring a cover designer and a formatter or typesetter to ensure that your book looks its best and really looks like a professional product. Just because you can self-publish by yourself doesn't necessarily mean that you should if you don't want to. And if you are interested in creating a product that looks really professional and is on par with traditionally published books, then I would definitely look into investing in at least editing and design.
Absolutely. Self-publishing is not solo publishing. I actually have links to great resources for authors for design that are at self-publishing prices below that you can all check out as well. Okay, so the book is edited, it's typeset, time to start marketing, right? This is a big hang up for self-publishers who hear from their traditionally published friends that they either got no marketing support or lots of support. There's a lot of myths and legends going around. So what do publishers actually do for a book post-publication in terms of ongoing marketing and backlist maintenance?
So marketing for a book begins well before the book launch. All of those pieces are in play and plans are being made as the manuscript is still being developed and going into publication. This means that members of the publishing team will be securing blurbs from well-known authors. They'll be trying to get coverage in relevant media outlets and industry publications. They'll be sending out copies of the manuscript for reviews, and they'll be putting up the book for any relevant awards and book clubs. A publisher typically designates one marketing person and one publicity person for each book. Now, they're not only working on that one book, of course, they have a whole list of books, but they will be the go-to person for that author. And then after the book is published, the marketing efforts certainly are not over. The designated marketing team will continue to seek relevant coverage in any outlets and can also run promotions through services like BookBub, which creates discounted ebooks, and those campaigns can create a significant uptick in sales. So whether the book was just published or published 6 months or even a year ago, those types of efforts can and still do happen. Marketing often also picks up again with the paperback launch. So whenever the book, usually a year after the hardcover publication, goes into its paperback form, typically there are some marketing pushes as well, because the paperback form has a different audience and many readers will be finding it for the first time in paperback.
Excellent. And it's really good to hear that the marketing continues with the second launch of the paperback. I think that's something that we self-publishers can easily do on our end. I hear a lot from authors that they can't afford to do an audiobook right away because it's a lot to invest. So if we can't afford to launch the audiobook with the other formats, well, we can do another launch later and have more hype and promotion around the book. We could do a bundle release. The marketing really is ongoing. So it's great to hear that traditional publishers do that too. And that's something we can emulate on our side. So the final question for you today, Alyssa, what is something you have seen traditional publishers do that indie authors overlook or skip?
The biggest thing that I see self-publishing authors skip that traditional publishers always do is comprehensive developmental editing. Now, I am a developmental editor, so I may be a bit biased here, but it truly is the difference between taking your story from here to here. Developmental editing is molding your story into the best version of itself that it can be. And oftentimes those big picture elements, pacing, plotting, character arcs, etc., are things that you can't really see in your own work at this point because you're too deep in it. And you think all of your intentions are coming through as you want them to, but maybe they're actually not resonating with the reader. That's why having a trained editor working with you can be really illuminating and just really bring your book to the next level and elevate it. It really isn't enough, in my view, to just have a copy edit and a proofread. Even if you have worked through 5 or more drafts on your own, nothing is going to replace a trained editorial eye and that fresh perspective. The other big thing I would come back to is cover design. Even if you do have some design or Photoshop skills, it really can pay to have a professional cover designer give you a face for your book, because they can really take it to the next level and make it look so professional that someone on the outside can't even tell if it's a traditionally published or a self-published book. They're just going to see a beautiful cover that draws them in. A really strong and enticing cover is also going to help your book stand out amidst the thousands of books that are published and available online.
Excellent tips, Alyssa. Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. And as someone who's learned the painful way and embarrassing way that DIY book covers just don't look as good, definitely get some help on the cover. And to your point about the developmental process, absolutely. It's so hard to see our own plot holes. So I hear from authors, they're either on two extreme ends. They either think, I wrote this perfect thing, it's amazing, it should never change, or they think everything is wrong with it and they don't see what's good. Having that trained set of eyes can really help. And I would say for self-publishers, if you can't afford to hire a developmental editor, that's where critique partners, and maybe even a critique group can really help you, because you're getting input from somebody else who can maybe see what you're missing.
Thanks so much again for having me, MK. This was a blast. It's been such an honor to get to chat with you, and I hope the insights were helpful. If you're watching and you are interested in learning more about traditional publishing or just want some more tips for your own publishing journey, don't forget to head over to my channel. I have a ton of resources. I also have a free worksheet that I designed specifically for authors who are working on a draft currently. It's called my free story self-assessment, and the link will be in the description below to go ahead and grab that. It's also going to sign you up for my newsletter where I give more tips and insights.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. It was a pleasure to have you stop by the channel today and give some insights for how we indie authors can emulate the traditional publishing process and rigor in our self-publishing process. As Alyssa mentioned, the link for her story self-assessment is below for you to all check out, and you can also find her channel on YouTube as well. What other questions do you have? Have you been through both the traditional and self-publishing processes? Are there any tips that we missed? Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. If you found this information helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, check out Alyssa's channel, or maybe even hit that thanks button. That lets YouTube know that you're getting value from this information, and then they can get it in front of other authors, like us. Now you can get back to writing your book.